Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are here for our second webinar. This is the Master of Public Service and Administration overview, and we'll be covering specifics about this program, some of the support materials we have for it. And we have several people joining us today. So I am Catherine Meyer. I'm Director of Admissions and Recruitment here at the Bush School, and I have my colleague, Ashley Treadway, here to help me cover some of the admissions aspects and to answer chat questions that you guys can type into the chat area during this presentation, and we'll be sure to speak on those and also provide an opportunity to answer some questions at the end where you might want to unmute and ask questions. I also have Matt Upton, who's joining us from the Career and Student Services. And then two of our current MPSA students will be joining us at the end to talk a little bit about their aspects. View from being in this program from last year, when it was a little different with COVID, to now being back in the classroom, face-to-face and interacting with their peers again. So the agenda is a little bit robust. I'm going to try to cover some in more detail than others because you can receive these slides later and go into more detail or go to the website. But we're going to cover the academics of these programs, the student resources, the employment focus, the application process, and some of our stats for the incoming class. I'll also cover what we cost in the aid that we are presenting to our students. And then we'll have that last 10 to 15 minutes where we'll have the students talk about their engagement here and then answer your questions. So be sure if you do have chat information you want, put it out there, and Ashley's going to be monitoring that for us today. So we'll start with the general overview, like I did in the last presentation, of what is the Bush School of Government. So we're a graduate school only at Texas A&M University that is on the College Station campus. We opened in 1997. We have roughly 2,200 alumni from us, but that is joining the over 500,000 students from Texas A&M. So you're marrying into this great alumni network that's known for Texas A&M students. Here in College Station, we have 4 full-time degrees that we are primarily recruiting for. That's the Master of Public Service, Master of International Affairs, the Master of International Affairs Public Health degree, and a Master of International Policy. Obviously, this webinar here is going to be Master of Public Service. There's also 4 graduate certificates that we offer and an online executive degree that I'll just touch on with Ashley as well. And then we have 2 DC degrees that are coming, that are up and running right now with some additional aspects that are coming. That might be more public service related, but right now those 2 DC degrees are international affairs related, so we won't talk about them much here. Our students, no matter what degree they're coming into, are preparing for a wide variety of careers. Nonprofits and international NGOs is a quarter to a third of most of our MPSA classes. Federal government, state, local government, different policy areas that they're passionate about, maybe government contracting, sometimes private industry, think tanks, research organizations. It just runs the gamut of what students are interested in. And we have a dedicated career service office here to help them. So as far as the academic section of this, the Master of Public Service and Administration is kind of our bread and butter. This was the original program that began. It is a 2-year, 48 credit hour degree. Most of our students are here full time. There are some students who will be working within the community or maybe within Houston, Austin, Dallas, and drive in for a couple of days a week to try to take some classes during the workday. But it takes a lot of flexibility to do it. So most of our students are full time. We are helping them build a degree that's relevant to their interest. So it depends on what you want to focus on, is how you build your degree program with the tracks and concentrations that you're putting together. You're going to receive faculty support. You'll be assigned a faculty advisor who will help you put your degree plan together. And then you also have access to the career service staff. So there's 3 of them that can meet with you to go over your resume, your cover letters, and just talk to you about different areas that you might want to go into, or how do I find out more about such and such? Lots of information that's coming from the Career Services Office later in this webinar. You also have to complete a relevant summer internship of your choosing. So again, we help, but you will have the say-so on what you want to pursue for that. You can collaborate on a one-year capstone project with your classmates, and we'll talk about that. And then there's an optional ability to earn a graduate certificate to highlight your study, and that'll come up in a moment. The big thing too that we're starting to get more and more questions, and probably this came out of the flexibility of people taking online classes for this past year when they had to, but more and more are asking us about, can I mix some online classes with the Master of Public Service face-to-face courses? And yes, you can. But the online classes, there is a limit to what you can put into that. Because we are a face-to-face on-campus program, over half of your courses have to be face-to-face. So out of 16 classes, we can allow 7 of those to be online if you want to mix them in with your face-to-face. But do realize there are additional fees for those. And so each one of those classes you take online is going to be a $1,500 cost on top of what you'd already be paying for your coursework. So just be aware of that. And it only applies to the electives because the core courses for the Master of Public Service need to be taken here on campus. MPSA rankings and accreditation, just want to point out that US News and World Report came out with their latest rankings, and we're in the top 10% nationally as the best public affairs programs. There's about 300 plus programs that are listed across the nation, and we're number 28. And then there are also rankings for subgroups. And so I put them here with number 18 in public management, nonprofit management, 22 in local government, number 32 in public policy. There's additional areas that we offer that we may not have gotten in the rankings, or there may not be rankings for them, but we'll talk about those availability of courses in a few minutes. So unique for the Master of Public Service, if a student is from Texas A&M University in the undergrad programs, and they come to us through one of these 5 departments, then they can do what is called a 5-year joint degree. And it's getting their bachelor's and their master's in that 5-year time frame. And for some students, 4 years, depending on how fast they're working. But if they come to us from these listed majors, political science, economics, sociology, ag, econ, and wildlife and fisheries management, then they will work with their undergraduate advisors, keep their GPA above a 3.25, or at least it needs to be close to that when you apply, because it has to be that by the time you enroll. Then they're going to apply as juniors, and then they'll enroll when they're close to 102 hours. And the benefits of that is you are able to double count some of our first year classes for some of your undergrad classes. So you're saving some money in that cost because you're still being charged undergrad prices. You can also apply more easily because you're completing an internal application, which doesn't have a fee like most of ours do. And you can get that, both of those degrees in an expedited time frame. Now, typically we're only enrolling somewhere between 5 to a dozen, 3+2 students each fall. So it just depends on how robust that class is. That out of a class of 90, there may be 5 students, there may be 10 students who are current Texas A&M undergrads. There will always be additional students who've already gotten their degree who will come in and apply as normal. But that's just a unique aspect for those that are on here for this webinar who are from Texas A&M and want to know more about that. Additionally, and I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I wanted to hit on, there are 2 additional degrees tied with the Master of Public Service, and they lead into PhD programs. So one of those is tied with the education policy interest. So students are coming in and working through their 2nd semester. So by February, right after they get into the program, they're having to apply and be considered for this PhD program. And they're working with the College of Education and Human Development to prepare for a career in academic research, specifically with education policy areas. So it takes 111 credit hours over 5 years to complete this. Not going to go through all the details, but it is on the website. You can read it here. But I'm expecting maybe a couple of students a year that might pursue this. On another side of this, there's one with health policy. Same idea. It's 111 credit hours over 5 years. These students will apply depending on whether they're even years or odd years. But this one, they're preparing for an academic career in health policy research. So consulting, health agencies of all types. Not going to affect a lot of our students, but there are a handful who are interested in continuing on that pathway. And so these two options exist for those students. And then Ashley, I was going to let you pick up for the next couple of slides.
The other degree program that we offer, similar to the Master of Public Service and Administration, is our online Executive Masters of Public Service and Administration. So the key difference is the online Executive Masters is an executive level program that requires 5 years of full-time public service experience with 3 years at the mid to upper level. So in order to apply, you have to meet that experience requirement. And it's a 2 to 3 year degree, 39 credit hours. It is fully online with the exception of 2 weeks in residence, 1 week the first year for your residency, and then 1 week the second year where you'll work on your capstone and that type thing. There are different tracks in this online executive degree versus the on-campus. So the online only has tracks in nonprofit management, public management, and homeland security, and they do not have concentrations like the on-campus degree does. One important note for the online executive masters that I forgot to mention is that they do rolling admissions. They admit every semester, fall, spring, and summer. Our on-campus masters only admits once per year for fall entry only. The online office also offers graduate certificates. So some of our students, our master students here that are taking their courses on campus, decide to supplement their degree with a graduate certificate in either nonprofit management, public management, homeland security, or advanced international affairs. And they just created 2 new ones. It's geospatial intelligence and cybersecurity policy, working with different departments here at A&M. But these certificates, like I said, can complement your degree, your on-campus Masters of Public Service and Administration with coursework in other areas. So for instance, homeland security. We've had some MPSA students do that. And those courses can be taken online, on campus, and double count towards your master's and your certificate. And if you're a senior here at Texas A&M, you can apply and start coursework towards the certificate your senior year.
All right, so now going back to the bread and butter of this program, which is the Master of Public Service and Administration, the tracks and concentrations that are offered. So you will have to choose a track: public management, public policy analysis, or nonprofits. And you will indicate that on your application at the time that you're applying. You can change that once you are here because you're not getting into those track classes until your second semester. But we like to try to match people with their interests with the right kind of faculty during the interviews and to get us an idea of what kind of classes people are interested in as they're coming in. Now, the concentrations listed here are completely elective. You can choose to do a concentration if you want to, but not everybody does. And some will do their individually designed area because what they see here maybe is not an exact match of what they want to do. So we have methods: cybersecurity, education, energy, environment, technology, health, homeland security, national defense, international NGOs, and state and local government, which can also be federal government. Just depends on the kind of coursework you're putting together. But we have had students who put together transportation issues, urban planning, all kinds of different agricultural policy, health policy mixed with nonprofits. So it just depends on what you want to do. You've got some flexibility to put those together. And then the A&M connection, I wanted just to make sure that I listed some of the departments that are integrated with our curriculum, because depending on what you're focused on, many of those courses that are listed are ones that you can take here at Texas A&M. So you won't be necessarily in the building taking them like you would with most of our classes, but you can catch the bus and go through the economics department and go take their courses, or geography, health and kinesiology, land development. It's very, very robust in what you have applicable to take, and hear from other great resources here on the campus. So on the curriculum itself, and you can see this on the website, I don't know exactly how the core and track and electives I'll try to color coordinate if they don't add up that way. But there are 4 core courses you're taking in your first semester. So everyone starts off in those same classes. And it just depends on who's offering it and what time of the day that differs. And then the second semester, now you're starting to get into your track requirement. So if you're nonprofit, your course is going to look different than someone who's doing public management. But you guys will work with your advisor to put that together, get that second semester lined out. And then in the meantime, you're applying for and working for internship support through our career services office, because you will need to complete one if you don't already have some substantive work experience. And that internship can be here local, or you can go back to out of state. Some are even done internationally, many times nonprofit based. And then you'll go do that in the summer. If you get one that's unpaid, there is a way to get some support for that. And then your third semester, you're then starting work on your capstone seminars and really building out your electives. And then you'll follow that into your final semester, same thing, capstone and more electives. So you'll be able to work with your faculty, your colleagues, find out what other classes people were passionate and had fun in and enjoyed and gave them some really great basics, and build out what's of interest to you. Now, that final year-long capstone project is a 9-month consulting project that you are doing with a client that a faculty member has gone out and found. So you're going to be given a list of these in the spring of your first year, and you'll hear from those faculty of what kind of project we think you're going to do for them, and you're going to rank order them as your top 3. And then those staff members will go through and assign you one of those 3 capstone projects. And this can be based on preferences, enrollment distributions, capstone needs. And usually it's somewhere between 5 to 9 students per capstone. The leadership and the writing program staff here will work with those groups to make sure they know how to work together, to get the deliverables out, who's going to be assigned what type of assignments in completing that work. And then the client sometime might be the way that you're choosing it. So a nonprofit person studying that might want to pick that nonprofit organization or 2 they're being offered for those capstones. Sometimes people will get out of their wheelhouse and go with something that's not in their focus area. And that's okay too, because no matter what, you're getting a lot about organization and project management and putting in place what you've been learning throughout your first year. So here are some titles that are ongoing right now. So we've got about 8 or 9 of these typically going each semester. It looks like we're a little bit less than that this time. There is one unique one with a DC capstone that's going to have a double with a couple of students going up to the DC area and taking their capstone course for both fall and spring at the same time. Typically, that is not something that would happen. In this case, you've got Dr. Dagg, who's using social determinants of health to improve health outcomes. So she probably has an assignment of 7 to 9 students in her capstone that are meeting regularly on one day of the week. And they will just work with a client relations, figuring out what they can do to present that information to that client by April. And so they'll work all semester, gathering the research, doing the legwork for it, and then putting it into a deliverable. And so you've got a number of these. Dr. Danny Davis oftentimes does our homeland security and security emphasis areas. And then these consulting capstone groups often work together. And that usually includes our state and local government and some of the nonprofits. So again, you'll have some say-so in which ones you will be assigned that year. And then as far as student resources, Matt Upton, are you on with us?
I am.
Great. You've got the next few.
Fantastic. As Catherine said, my name is Matt Upton. I'm the Assistant Dean for Career and Student Services. And so just share with you some of our student resources. We have a leadership program that's headed up by Ms. Holly Kasperbauer. She leads that program, and there are a couple of options that you can pursue with it. She does have a Dean's Leadership Certificate, and then there's also a Medal of Excellence program, which I'll talk about here in just a second because it is in coordination with the writing program. But the leadership program really does a good job of taking you through some self-assessment in the early years of the early part of your time here at the Bush School. And then it helps you use that information about your personality through resources like Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, Strengths Quest, et cetera, to apply it to working within your capstone group or within group projects that you're working on. It's also great preparation for your future profession as well, because like it or not, you're going to work with people. And so we want to give you some practical training in that area. She also helps you with resources like time management, diversity in the workplace, diversity in leadership, and then also just thinking through how you can continue to grow and develop professionally and personally as you go throughout your career and throughout your lifespan. Then our writing program is headed up by Cindy Razor. It is not an editing program for you. They're not going to edit. She's not going to edit your papers for you, but she does help you and wants to help you become a more effective communicator when it comes to the written word. And so one of the ways that you can be involved in that is by participating in the Medal of Excellence program. Medal of Excellence program is an opportunity for you to develop a writing portfolio over your 2 years here in graduate school, and also complete the Dean's Leadership Certificate. If you complete both of those requirements, the online e-portfolio is something that you'll submit work to, and it'll go back and forth with Mrs. Razor and some others on her team, Holly Kasperbauer and others who work with her in that area. And at the end of that time, you'll have a professional portfolio, an electronic professional portfolio of writing samples and things like that that you can use. And if you complete that and complete all the requirements of the Dean's Leadership Certificate, then you'll get what's called the Medal of Excellence. And it's really nice, looks like an Olympic medal, kind of, real pretty like that. And it's something that many of our graduates wear at their graduation when they finish their time here. You are probably pretty familiar with the fact that schools like ours have speakers that come in. We do have your normal visiting faculty and academic presentations, but because we are a school of government and public service and international affairs, it's really important that we find it really important to bring in speakers who are talking about topics that are current. So obviously we're looking at 9/11 and what are the impacts of 9/11 20 years later. We're looking at how are people responding to the issues in Afghanistan and other countries like that. How are we helping individuals? How's our military responding? How's our administration? All those types of things are going to be conversations that you're going to find at schools like ours. And you'll have opportunities as well to share your research if you're involved in that. Capstone, as Catherine was just talking about, is a great opportunity. We often have our students will do a presentation to their client, but before that, they'll do a practice run with faculty and staff at the Bush School. There are international travel opportunities, assuming that the travel restrictions are lifted in the coming future. And we will have opportunities for students to go with a faculty member. This typically occur over the break between summer and at the end of the spring semester and the beginning of the summer semester, so typically in May. Occasionally, they'll have a December or January trip. Those are a little less common than the international opportunities are in that May timeframe. And then we've got a number of research centers and institutes, and they all offer opportunities for students to get involved with the work that they're doing. So the Center for Nonprofits and Philanthropy this whole week is offering or is hosting an open house, a chance for you to go by and find out what they're doing, the kind of research that they're working with, how they're helping nonprofit organizations do a better job within their areas. Mosbacher Institute for Trade Economics and Public Policy is advertising their summer internship stipend. So there are plenty of opportunities for you to get involved with those as well. Now, I don't know about you, but most of the people that come to graduate school are looking at coming to graduate school because they want a better job, or they want to get into a career field that they have not been in before. And so we'd like to share information about our career and student services. While we remind students that your career is your personal responsibility and your personal opportunity for success, we do also offer career advising. We have 3 staff members. We have Marilyn Santiesteban, who does all of our career programming, so career workshops. Last week, they focused with first-year students, they focused on getting your resume up to speed, getting it updated, and include the information you need. This week, it's working on LinkedIn profiles, making sure your summary statement is accurate, and does a good job of reflecting who you are and the types of opportunities that you want, and then highlighting your previous experiences. And she'll spend the next few weeks going over things like that with our first-year students. We also like to meet with you individually, and so Marilyn can do that, but we also have another staff member, Michael Cochran, who's our Assistant Director for Employer Relations. He's been busy hosting information sessions this week. The CIA was in yesterday. We had 3 rooms of interviews going on for both first and second year students. We had an information session, and then we had a simulation that our students participated in last night with individuals from the CIA. Today, we have one of our faculty members, Ambassador Larry Napper, who's conducting an information session. He probably just finished it a few minutes ago on careers at the State Department and internships at the State Department. And so those are the types of things that we have, but we also have, those are front loaded because those are security sensitive positions. And you as a public administration student may be interested in that, but you may also be interested in nonprofit work or state and local work. And those opportunities tend to come up later on in the semester. And so this snapshot here gives you a picture of where our graduates are going when they finish up their time here. Within 6 months of graduation, between 89 and 96% of our students our graduates are in related career fields. The top 3 in the public administration program are state and local government, nonprofit organizations, and the federal government. And government contractor, I would also loop in with federal government because that's typically a government contractor is usually a federal opportunity. A little bit less of our students going into private sector work and going into continuing education. Continuing education that does occur is we do have some students that will graduate and go on to a PhD program, and a few who will go on to law school after they finish their time here. Here are some sample employers. We try to give you just kind of a quick snapshot of what that looks like. And if you look on our website under students, you can also go to the career services tab, and there's a whole extra set of information for the class of 2020. We are working on gathering data right now. All of the schools that are involved in NASPA and accredited through NASPA, we have agreed to report our employment statistics at 6 months post-graduation, because that's typically the best time frame for people graduating from programs to be able to secure employment in a related field. But you can see state and local government, Alabama Securities Commission, to independent school districts, to state legislature in Maryland and Nebraska and Ohio and Utah, to Texas legislative offices or state government offices. We've got people working in the Houston area, Dallas-Fort Worth area, San Antonio, Austin, and outside of Texas as well in local government. Federal government, you've got places like the FBI, Department of Agriculture. Some people are working on the Hill, although we have fewer there, Health and Human Services. So it gives you a good idea of what that looks like. Some nonprofit organizations, Big Brothers Big Sisters. We just listed specifically one in Middle Tennessee, but we've had graduates work at other Big Brothers Big Sisters in other locations. Children at Risk is a nonprofit down in the Houston area. Greater Texas Foundation focused on educational equality and educational access. Habitat for Humanity, we've had people work here in Texas and in Maryland and other places. The NAACP, Samaritan's Purse, international NGO work there, United Way, both locally and in Houston and in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then some of the private sector firms there you'll see, Deloitte Consulting, Frost Bank, KPMG, those give you an idea. One thing I neglected to say a minute ago was, in addition to help with your job search, we also help you with your internship search as well. And if you complete the career workshops that are required that I mentioned Ms. Santiesteban doing, then you qualify to apply for additional funding for your summer internship if it's unpaid. And that's on top of the scholarship that you receive that Catherine's already mentioned to you as you apply for the program here. So Any general questions that you might have, if you want to throw them in the chat, I should have said that beforehand. I will not be on the whole time here, but Catherine will get those to me. You're also welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Just let me know that you're on the webinar today so that I know what information you've already received. Okay, Catherine, I think it's back over to you.
And I'm pushing it to Ashley.
Okay, so I wanted to briefly go over just highlight some of the application requirements for the Master of Public Service and Administration specifically. So first of all, you of course have to submit your application, and it is through a system called GradCast. A lot of colleges are moving to this new system from Apply Texas. So it's GradCast. It does require an application fee of $89 for domestic students or $114 for international. We do ask for you to upload all of your supporting materials through the application itself, unless you're a Texas A&M continuing graduate student, and you'll fill out a separate form, an internal application with me. And 5-year students will also fill out an internal application with me and upload their documents through the internal application. But everyone else will go through the GradCast and upload their materials through the application. And that includes the personal statement, resume, 3 recommendations, their GRE test scores, and English proficiency test scores. The unofficial transcripts are also required to be uploaded, and unofficial just simply means copies of your transcript. If you're from, if you have an international transcript, we do need an English translation. So I would combine both your transcript and translation into one document and upload that. We don't need your official transcripts and evaluation translations until you know whether you're admitted. And as soon as you know you're admitted in mid-March, that's when I would request the official transcripts. Before that, we don't need them. The GRE test scores or GMAT test scores, I forgot to mention, are completely optional for the Master of Public Service and Administration program. We do suggest those that have below a GPA below a 3.2 to submit scores to offset that lower GPA. If you're a great test taker, it won't hurt to go ahead and submit it. You do study, it takes about 3 weeks to get your scores in, so just plan accordingly. So the application timeline, we do have a lengthier application timeline. So just so that you're aware, our application opened on August 3rd. So we're processing applications as they're coming in to make sure we have all of the required pieces. There's not an error that was encountered when your resume uploaded to your application, etc. And then December 15th is our priority funding deadline. And what that means is we suggest you get all of your application materials and application to us by this date, because after this date, we are swamped with applications trying to get them processed. So if you're trying to reach us through email or phone, you're going to have longer response time. So I can't guarantee that I can respond immediately in order to tell you if your application is complete or not. Additionally, there's a couple of our funding opportunities that have deadlines in January. Everyone is going to be considered for funding. There's just a small amount of funding that does require a deadline, nominations to be submitted earlier. So that priority funding with deadline, I'm pushing that hard. It's December 15th with our final hard deadline, January 12th. January 12th is the cutoff, so we have to have everything in by that date. Then we review applications at the end of January, and we notify applicants if they're moved forward in the admissions process to interviews. We also notify those that we're going to go ahead and decline admission for. But if you're invited to interview, we have an interview conference weekend that we encourage you to attend. It is February 11th and 12th. It's an all-day event on Saturday and then an afternoon on that Friday before. But you interview with 1 or 2 faculty members that are related to your concentration or track. We try to match you up with that area if we can. And it's your opportunity to sell yourself to us, to introduce yourself to the faculty, and then ask questions of them. Then we come back and we meet again with the admissions committee at the end of February after all the interviews are done. Those that can't come, so if you live internationally and you can't come, we understand that, and we'll set up a Zoom interview with you with the faculty member. So we'll do that before and after interview conference weekend to get those knocked out. We'll meet again at the end of February, make final decisions and scholarship decisions. So We'll make it that decision all at one time, how much funding we're going to give those that are admitted. And we send those out. Our goal is to have that out by mid-March. So March 15th-ish is when you will have a decision. You'll have until April 15th to reply if you are accepting that offer admission or declining. We do deferrals only in extenuating circumstances. So if there is an extenuating circumstance that prevents you from coming this year, then of course we require a process to submit a request and get that approved. We set up a Facebook class page after we send out decisions, and if you accept, we're going to put you in a Facebook group so you can connect with your classmates. We send out periodic emails with list of next steps, etc. So that way, when you get here in August, you're prepared. I'm going to hand it back over to Catherine.
All right, ready for me now. So let's go by the numbers for this class of 2023, just to give an idea of what they look like. Now, typically we're trying for a class size of 90. This year, we had a few at the last minute roll over for some deferrals or declines. So we ended up with a class of 82. Average GPA was about a 3.56. That ranges between a 3.3 yearly to about a 3.6. So this year's was a little bit higher than normal. Average GRE this year was a 306, just to give you a rough idea. Not everybody is submitting them, but those that did, this is their average. Average age is 24. We'd really like to see people go out and get work experience and come back, but a lot of them are coming straight out from undergrad or within a year, knowing that they want to get an advanced degree and some training in their field. And so we're okay with admitting students as long as they have the maturity, the preparation to succeed here. And so average age, a little bit younger, but 24 will work. Women makeup is about 51% of the incoming class. Underrepresented minorities is 41%. It's a great jump last year from the 35, I believe we had, 35%. International students makes up about 10% of the incoming class. Typically, that's been up to about 20% at times, but we're still struggling on bringing students in with the COVID-related restrictions and concerns about visas. Non-residents made up 37% of the class. And then average work experience, you can see that 0 to 2 years was about 68%. And then the 2 to 5 years plus made up the rest. The professors that you guys are working with is a mix of both seasoned practitioners and researchers. So you're going to get the practical with somewhat of the theoretical in these classes and mix and match those. And most classes average about 16, with some having to max out around that 20, sometimes 25, but our classrooms are not very big. So you're not going to be lost in a big theater style room with 100 plus people. It's going to be very intimate, sitting around a table with discussion. And so you do have to be prepared for classes when you come in. Now, for the cost and the aid, we offer generous financial awards, but how generous those are depends on the merit base. So for instance, this year's incoming class, every single student was given some level of scholarship in the Master of Public Service. They have to be full-time, because if you drop below that 9-hour mark, you're a part-time and do not receive funding. And those funding levels typically start around 3,000 and work their way up, but there are a few who are at 1,000. So for the class of 21, that lower tier of 1 to 3,000 was 38% of the students. The mid-level 5 to 7,000 was another 38%. 12% of the students got 10,000 and another 12% got above 11. So they either got a 15 or a $29,000 scholarship. Now, uniquely for us, because a lot of schools will give graduate assistant positions for incoming students, we do not. We do graduate assistantships in the second year, year 2. And so you can indicate your interest for being a grad assistant in the spring of your second year and compete for those by applying and letting the faculty know that who you want to work for, that you are applying and are interested in it. And then they will make a match for those. And if you receive a grad assistantship position, you give up the first year scholarship. So if you came in at a 5,000, you give up that $5,000, but now as a GA, you're working 20 hours a week and making over 14,000. So you can't double dip within our department, but you can find another part-time job on campus or find a GA position or an RA position, a resident assistant, maybe working for another department on campus. And if that's the case, that does not affect your Bush School scholarship. So if you get one of those positions, you could keep that $5,000 scholarship we talked about. There are also those internship scholarships available for those that get an unpaid opportunity. And Matt mentioned those earlier. You have to attend the career workshops, and then you're eligible for that opportunity to receive some funding based on your location. So someone in DC would get more than someone who's staying in Houston. So overall, it becomes a best value education, because if you're coming to us from out of the country or out of state, on top of the scholarship, you're also receiving an out-of-state tuition waiver. Those are worth about $12,000 right now. So full-time MPSA non-residents will pay Texas rates. And we are running right now at about $13,400 per year before that scholarship kicks in. So if you receive a $10,000 scholarship, you're only responsible for about $3,400 of your tuition and fees. Now, you are still responsible for the living costs, because most of our scholarships can't touch that kind of funding. But if you can find a part-time job, if you can look for some outside scholarships, have some savings that you have been able to put back, that's what a lot of ours are doing. Loans, a lot of them are doing loans through FAFSA. So you can make it through here with an affordable cost, without a lot of debt, but you're probably not going to be one of the few who gets a full ride. There's just not much available here for that. So before I roll it into the students and letting Tori and Alyssa have a chance to talk, I want to talk about some of the opportunities for involvement, because we're more than just the academics here. It is also getting to interact with your colleagues and making those lifelong friendships and those connections. And we have a number of opportunities for that through Public Service Organization, which does community service in a number of different projects each semester. You've got the Student Government Association that has a number of different committees that students are signing up for what's of interest to them. So they have the diversity, equity, and inclusion, social and traditions, which is those potluck nights and having some fun. International connections. There's a fundraising and merchandising, which will provide some different Bush School merch that students can go out and buy, a hat and t-shirts and sweatshirts. There's those that are helping the environment by the Green Committee. Tailgating, which is big right now in the fall. You can see a picture there of some of our students from a couple of years ago enjoying the tailgates. And there's a graduation and athletics. So we do have a number of different intramural sports that we will hold each semester that the students can sign up for and just go release some steam and go out and run around and do the indoor soccer and volleyball and flag football and all the fun things that maybe you can just extend the fun you had in undergrad for that. There's also the Foreign and Language and Cultural Society, which also helps with our language groups for the MIA program. There's Alexander Hamilton Society, John Quincy Adams Society. Both of those are more on the international affairs side. The Ambassador Council, which is a select number of students for first and second years that will help host some of the guests and visitors that we have here. And then there's career clubs. So for instance, there's several of them that are dealing with nonprofits and fundraising, others that are doing international affairs. But you can find those and get involved in the ones that are of interest to you. So now I've got time. Now I see Tori is on here. I didn't know if Alyssa had made it on or not, but if you two, Tori, y'all can unmute and introduce yourselves and just kind of cover some of the materials here and those notable first year experiences. Just pick a couple and let's have you chat a little bit about that.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Tori. My computer's acting a little weird right now, so sorry if it's going in and out. But I am from Dallas, Texas, where I was born and raised. I went to Texas A&M for my undergrad. I got a dual degree in communication and Spanish. After graduating, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went and worked in the private sector for 4 years doing social media marketing. And then finally, during COVID, decided to come back and reorient my life into public service. So very excited to be here. I love the Bush School so far. It's been an amazing experience. As far as my track and concentration, I am getting an MPSA degree. My track is public policy analysis, and my concentration is Homeland Security. I hope to maybe one day work in counter human trafficking. That would be the end goal. So trying to figure that all out right now because graduation's coming up faster than expected. And then notable first year experiences. I think I have a few. Probably the coolest thing that we got to do is a little bit of an odd year because of COVID, but the coolest thing I got to do is I joined Ambassadors Council, and they hosted a Zoom meeting with Ambassador Siv, who was the ambassador to the United Nations during President Bush's time. And he was really amazing. He talked about all of his experiences, where he came from and how he came to the United States and then eventually became an ambassador. And then I got the opportunity to have a sidebar conversation with him. He gave up his phone number and email and allowed anyone who was interested in talking to him further to reach out to him. And so it was just pretty amazing getting to talk on a one-on-one conversation with a former ambassador. It was kind of surreal. I've never had that opportunity before. Another, I guess, notable first year experience was getting to play intramurals. Because of COVID, we didn't get to do a lot of in-person events, but we did still get to do intramurals if we wore masks. And so I joined soccer and kickball and really got to know a lot of people outside of my track and on the IA side. And so it was just a great time to get to know people that I don't necessarily see every day. And now I get to see them more often and I know them already. So it's pretty cool. And then I'm trying to think something cool that we do at the Bush School, which I'm kind of putting, I guess, a shameless, what is it, like ploy or what a plot, I don't know, into, shameless plug into is that I am head of intramurals this year. And that means we also get to plan the Dillo Cup, which is a really cool, it's a softball game between the LBJ School of Government in Austin. And it's between us and them, and we get to compete for one day and then get to know them and kind of hear about their experiences at UT. So I'm really excited for that this year. And then I'm trying to think advice I would offer a prospective student. I'm trying to think. Do your research, it always helps, but you are most definitely, if you come to the Bush School, you're going to find your place and you're going to find your friends and your smaller family here. It's very much a small, close-knit program, and it's something that I've been very thankful to be a part of. So I guess my best advice would be don't worry about, moving to a new place, changing your whole life, kind of life path like I did. It all works out in the end, and you're going to love it if you come here.
Alyssa, you want to start too?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa, and I am from Parkland, Florida. And then I went to Florida State University up in Tallahassee, where I got my bachelor's in international affairs and IT. So after my bachelor's, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I went to work in the nonprofit sector for a little bit. And I was a volunteer coordinator for about 2 years. And after that, I did a service year with the AmeriCorps NCCC as a team leader. And I got to travel around the Midwest serving different nonprofits and helping build their capacity. So we served different environmental organizations, Habitat for Humanity, YMCA on an Indian reservation. And it was a really great, diverse experience that helped me really realize that I wanted to do public service for the rest of my career. And so that's kind of how I found the Bush School. And so now I'm at the Bush School and I love it. And my track right now is on the policy analysis track. So just like Tori. And I'm also working towards a certificate in nonprofit management. Because I'm sure you all heard about the certificates. It's a really great opportunity to kind of double dip. And at the end of your program, you walk away with a degree and a certificate in something that you can be really passionate about. And it's a really great way to just get another thing under your belt. So a notable first year experience, this one was kind of hard because there were so many. It's been such a great experience. Even with COVID, we've kind of had to alter what we did and how the Bush School normally interacted with students, but we definitely made it work, and everybody was so great at making us feel really welcome last year, even through COVID. But my most notable experience is also with the Ambassadors Council, which I'm also a part of. And every so often we have these events that come up, and David Valdez came to speak to us through Zoom. And David Valdez, if you're not sure who he is, he's George H.W. Bush's personal photographer and like professional photographer. And a lot of the pictures at the Bush School, actually, if you ever get to go or you want to go to interview weekend, and you'll see a lot of those pictures of George Bush are taken from David Valdez. So we were able to hear him speak and hear him talk about his experience traveling with the president and traveling on personal vacations, on professional jobs. And it was just an amazing talk to hear about his experience so closely related to the president. It was amazing. Some other experiences were just through class. Like some of the classes are a little challenging at first, especially quantitative classes, because that's just not my background. But really bonding with your classmates over those difficult classes really helps you get it done. So I would say just, this also goes into advice, but join a study group, make a reading group with people in your class, and make sure that you all are working through it together, because a lot of the work at the Bush School already is team-based. But if you can just make that even more robust in your classes, it'll definitely pay off. And then you get to meet people that way as well. So for social life, there's a lot going on always. I mean, with COVID, it was a little bit different, like we said, but this year we're pretty much back into the full swing of things. We have a lot of in-person events. We just had a diversity town hall that was really great. And there's a lot of opportunities to get involved in anything that you want to do, whether it's on the IA side or the MPSA side. And then advice that I'd offer you is just do your readings and make sure you're prepared for classes, because you'll get so much more out of the class. And also sometimes professors have little assignments in class or discussions. So you'll need to do the readings beforehand to make sure you're prepared. But everybody is here for you. Make sure you ask questions, and everyone wants you to succeed. So that's been really great as a student to feel that in this environment.
Thank you, Alyssa. That's so helpful to hear from you both about classes. Did either one of you do an internship that was outside of maybe this community here within Texas A&M? I know a lot of people still were punting to try to figure out where they could go. So where did you two wind up for internship?
Tori, do you want to go first?
I'll go first because mine's not as cool as Alyssa's. Because like COVID made it a little different, but I got to stay here and research with a professor, which was really cool. So I focused on violent extremism in the United States, and so that was really fun. But I was here just researching for the summer.
Yeah, still definitely very cool. Great experience, I'm sure. But I was able to do an internship with the GAO, so that's the Government Accountability Office, and it was virtual, so it was supposed to be out of the Boston office, but it ended up just being virtual. So I was still in College Station, but it was still a really good experience. And I learned a lot about the auditing process of the government, and the GAO is a really cool nonpartisan agency that really works to hold Congress and other agencies accountable. So it was a really interesting take on policies and the stuff that we learn in our classes. It really related to it. And it was just a great experience. And I probably would not have gotten that experience without the Bush School, because I did not know about GAO until I heard about it from the Bush School, and different professors kind of plugged it in different ways. And then our career services department set up a informational with people that had done it in the past. So without the Bush School, I probably would not have had that experience. And it was definitely great.
Thank you. That's so great to hear that too. So I know Christabel had a question that Ashley has already answered. It asked about how students can choose to participate in their internships, but they can be anywhere. They can be local, national, international. It's you working with the professors and with the student services offices to find out what's available. You guys work through a system called Simplicity, where you receive a lot of information about opportunities that are available. And then you're basically picking and choosing and going through and applying for the ones that are of interest to you. And as you need to tailor those resumes and cover letters, you can go meet one-on-one with the staff there to help you. And you're going to get to the point where you can do that on your own. You don't need their support anymore. And you can go through and apply. And then it'll work same thing through employment. They're there to support through your second year as well. So as long as it hits a few standards, like I believe it has to be 10 weeks. And again, you have to find out if it's funded or non-funded, and if you need to apply for funding and what the deadlines are for that, we can support those. So we are running out of time. We've got about 4 more minutes. If there are other questions that you guys want to maybe unmute and ask, or put it in the chat question, we'll give it a couple of seconds. And while that's going on, I'm going to move on my slide and just remind you guys that at any time, if you want to reach out to us, in yellow there, I put the on-campus MPSA admissions. That's the email that I will work with and answer. And there's also a phone number that Ashley and I both can pick up and answer your quick questions if you've got that. If you're interested in the EMPSA or the graduate certificates, our Office of Extended Education runs those, and they're found at Bush School Online at Texas A&M. And then you've got an 800 number there, an 866 number that you can call and talk to their advisors. And then lastly, as I mentioned, there are more upcoming events. So tomorrow I'm hosting the event for the MIA and the MIA MPH degrees. Next week, I'll cover one that covers the MIP. And I'm trying to get someone from the DC office to join us for that, to cover more about what they're offering on the international affairs side. And then we'll have some students again, talk a whole webinar about student life and all the different ways that they've been actively involved. And then we'll cover admissions, career, co-curricular, and the financial aid. The co-curricular, in case you're interested, is a lot more about the travel and the language assessments and how to support those. Speakers, events, all kinds of the outside of the classroom events. And then I've got a Zoom Q&A hour coming up again, I believe next week or the week after. Those are about every 2 weeks right now. And then if anyone here is from Texas A&M and looking at the 3+2 sessions, we'll have a webinar on that on MPSA oriented on October the 19th. And then open houses, if you find yourself in the area, you can come by and drop in. Those are on Fridays, and I've got the dates there. So while I finish that part up, are there any other questions anyone wants to unmute? Any last comments from anybody? Feel free to chime in. All right, that having been said, I gave the chance, but anytime you come up with additional questions, just send it to me at that Bush School Admissions email address, and we'll put that right back up there. And thank you guys for joining us. We greatly appreciate your time. We will have these transcribed and sent to you in the next few days. So be on the watch for that. And if you have signed up for additional webinars, we'll send some reminder information for those a day or two before the event. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate having you. Bye.